Thronebreaker was released in October 2018 for the PC, then it came out in December for the PS4 and Xbox One. At the time, hype for The Witcher 3 was very much alive, and people were still referring to it as the new benchmark RPG should be aiming for. Following up on the success of The Witcher 3, CDPR released a standalone, free-to-play Gwent game. It came out before Thronebreaker after spending time in closed beta. According to reviews on Metacritic, both Gwent games were well received. Gwent the Witcher card game scored a generally favourable 80 by critics and a mixed score of 7 from users. Thronebreaker fared better, scoring 85 by critics and 8.3 from users. I played Gwent for a bit when it was in beta, but found that the cards had too much going on. Each one of them come with a paragraph of text. I felt working out strategies would take longer than I was willing to put in. This, in combination with the in-game currency, put me off sticking with it. Thronebreaker, on the other hand, was more up my street because it's a single-player narrative-driven game. You play as Meve, ruler of Lyria and Rivia. On returning back from a voyage, Meve finds that Nilfgaardian whoresons have moved in and started wrecking the place. The irony being she had spent months away signing pacts with the other northern rulers to prevent this very thing from happening. With an under-equipped army, you have to fight your way through just about everything the Witcher universe can throw at you. The main objective is to reclaim your lands and crown by driving out the Nilfgaards and the traitors that help them. The game has an isometric view. As you travel around, you gather resources and find encounters, battles and puzzles. These are either part of the main story or side quests. Some of these encounters give you decisions to make. Your decisions can reduce or increase your army's morale, making them more or less effective in battle. Consequences or rewards for your decisions may not be immediate but come later on in the game. Encounters throughout can also offer more resources, trading, treasure maps, and card parts. There are 3 resources needed to upgrade your encampment from your pause menu: gold, wood, and recruits. Wood and gold can be found lying around anywhere for you to help yourself to, and recruits can generally be found in towns. Upgrades give buffs by reducing costs and increasing army capacity. Resources can also be used to create and upgrade cards. Deck building in Thronebreaker sits somewhere in between The Witcher 3 and Gwent. It is somewhat more developed than The Witcher 3, but not as convoluted as the Gwent beta. The UI takes a bit of getting used to, but it's easy once you have the hang of it. In the menu, you'll see that there's 3 sections. On the left is your current deck, in the middle are all the cards available, some you can add to your deck, others you'll need to create, and on the right are general card filter options. Something I felt they missed here was the ability to save decks. It would have been nice and beneficial to have this option. With it, modding decks throughout the game would have been much more user friendly, switching out between them on the fly. At times I needed to completely rebuild my deck, like for the battle against Guernicora. However, afterwards I wanted to go back to the deck I was using. Sadly, without the option to save, I had to basically remember that deck and rebuild it again. Without deck saving, the choice to switch things up was never taken lightly, and trying new strategies was all but deserted, because I don't want to have to completely rebuild decks every time. I also couldn't build decks even if I wanted to, because the game crashed if I switched out too many cards. Anyway, this is how deck building works. There are limitations to the number of cards you can have, which is shown in the top left hand corner. The first number is the minimum amount of cards you have to have in your deck. The number next to it is the maximum amount of food your deck can sustain. Each card has a food counter in the bottom right, unless it is a trinket or a trophy. When you're building your deck, this filter in the top middle section is pretty useful, as you can look at what cards are available to max out your deck's resources. The search bar is a bit of hit and miss if it will actually find whatever you type in there, and the game likes to crash when I use it. The The battlefield is different from The Witcher. In Thronebreaker there are 2 rows instead of 3, and there are no cards that can only be placed on specific rows. There are 2 types of battles in the game. The main battles, you have your full deck and play for the best out of 3 rounds, but most of the time you will have a shortened version that only lasts a single round. The other battle type the game calls puzzles. To my memory, there are only 1 round and you have to complete an objective or number of objectives to succeed. In these puzzles, you can only use custom decks the game gives you. At the time of writing, I'm still ambivalent towards these puzzles because I'm here to play Gwent. I don't like building a deck to not be able to use it that often. Main battles are less frequent than the puzzles or the single round battles until much further on in the game. The reason for not being won over by the puzzles is because there's no room for improvisation. You're given your cards and you have to put them down in the order the game wants, or you lose. The single round battles are okay, however there is far less strategy needed compared to the 3 round battles. It's basically smash down all your cards. It's 1 round so you have to go all in. These puzzles and single round battles made me feel that I was far away from the main meat of Gwent. Thankfully, there is a skip option and a quick start if you fail any of these battles. But this is where the game's optimization fails again. For some reason, restarting puzzles an arbitrary number of times crashes the game. If I couldn't complete one within a couple of goes, I'd have to skip in fear of a crash. But I have to admit I somewhat found this a blessing in disguise because I was given the perfect reason to skip. I found Thronebreaker also has a balance issue. At the beginning of the game, it was hard to find any battles I could actually win. This got frustrating as I was slowly moving around a map to find anything I had a chance against. Finding very little resulted in me going on a number of hiatuses. Now I can accept this could just be me bad at the game or being very impatient, but I feel it is worth mentioning as other people who are not OG tabletop players may have similar issues with the game, especially if their only experience comes from The Witcher 3's Gwent. I did go back after completing the game upping the difficulty to harden to see if this was all still true. The game crashed within an hour and I'd had enough of trying with it. Some of the puzzles halted my progress and killed the momentum I had built up to carry on playing. I get the idea behind the puzzles, offering something else alongside the battles, but for the most part, it didn't work for me. And strangely enough, later in the game, I found the main battles too easy. I stuck to the strategy of all-out attack, and nothing could do anything to me. Then I thought, what's the actual point in this? It got to the point like in The Witcher 3, when you can win pretty much every game using the spy cards, dummies, and that naughty boy Dykstra. I get the story arc of building up a powerful army from a small one, but I think it's not executed very well. I found the balancing was off, too hard to begin with and too easy later on. And I do have some other minor quibbles. One is with the isometric view. At times it can be difficult to see what path, if any, can be taken off the beaten track. On starting up the game, which I did a lot because it crashed all the time, there are 2 cutscenes that have to be skipped every time by holding circle. I thought there would be one-time intros, but the game doesn't relent on playing them. It's a small nuisance, but it's one that shouldn't really be there. Bringing up crashes, I found out that the game doesn't autosave all the time, so there were a lot of battles I had to do over again, because after I'd done a battle, I would tweak my deck and the game would crash, to then load up the game and find out that I have to do the same battle again because the autosave doesn't work all the time. From here I used the precaution of saving and quitting. I would switch one card, quit and save, reload the game, switch another card and quit and save. It just got ridiculous. Right, on to the good stuff. I enjoyed the deck building and upgrading the camp, that's until nothing actually wanted to challenge me anymore. I liked the variety in enemies and cards. And yeah, the puzzles do add something extra, breaking up doing battle after battle. The characters and story are well written, offering a compelling part of history to the Witcher universe.
Got to admit you've more in that pretty head of yours than I expected, but dinna you start thinking we'll be toasting a new friendship. You want our aid? You'll have to answer our questions. My questions. Lots of them. And they're all hard, so dinna you go smiling at me yet.
Why, I wouldn't dare.
Better not. Right. Time we moved on.
Bruver set off at a brisk pace, paying Meave nor anyone else heed.
This has helped with top voice acting and meaningful decisions throughout. As you go through the game, you can add new characters with their cards to your army. Later on, certain choices can only be made if you've recruited these people. And again, these people are very well voice acted and fleshed out with backstories and current motivations. Because of this, I can see there's plenty of replayability, as each choice and party member branches to different options and conclusions. That aside, I really had to push through this to complete it, because of the frequent crashes, poor difficulty balancing, lack of main battles, and process of elimination puzzles. I can't say that it delivered the Gwent game I wanted, but it did offer snippets of fun. If you're a Gwent fan, it is worth considering if the issues I have with it haven't put you off. Just don't play it on the PS5.
I've always warned them. Won't touch a hair on your heads, provided you don't resist. So, see, gave them a choice. Besides, innocence? Please, Meave. We both know those to be mythical creatures. Everyone's got something on their conscience.
So there's always call for murder.
That's right. Dead right.